The champagne tasted like betrayal. I raised a glass to my lips, watching my wife work the room. Victoria Hale, CEO of Asterian Capital, dressed in a white Armani suit that cost more than most people's cars. She moved through the crowd at the Pierre Hotel like she owned it. Because tonight, she almost did. $480 million. That's what we were closing tomorrow morning. The final round before our IPO. 5 years of blood, sweat, and sleepless nights, all leading to this moment. I stood near the bar, nursing my drink, doing what I always did, watching, making sure the investors were happy, making sure the board members felt appreciated, making sure the journalists got the right sound bites. Nobody noticed me. They never did. I was the invisible co-founder, the husband in the background, the man who made sure the engine ran while Victoria took the wheel. And I was fine with that. Where I had been. Nathan. I turned. Marcus Chun, our CFO, looked pale. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the air conditioning. You need to see something? He handed me his phone, an email draft, sent from Victoria's account to the entire executive team. Effective immediately. Nathan Hale is relieved of all responsibilities related to investor relations, fundraising, and IPO preparation. These duties will be assumed by Ryan Cross, Global Strategy Advisor. I read it twice. The words didn't change. When was this sent? 10 minutes ago. Marcus lowered his voice. She's about to announce it. At the dinner. I handed the phone back. My hand was steady. That surprised me. Say something. Marcus whispered. What do you want me to say? That this is insane. That Ryan Cross has been here for 3 months. He doesn't know our investors. He doesn't understand our cap table. He's going to tank everything. I looked across the room. There he was. Ryan Cross. Tall. Done. Perfectly tailored suit. Standing beside Victoria. Laughing at something she said. His hand touched her elbow. She smiled. I'd seen that smile before. 5 years ago. When she looked at me the same way. She knows what she's doing. I said, no, she doesn't. She thinks she does. But, Marcus, I cut him off. It's fine. It's not fine. Nathan, you built this company. Those investors? They're here because of you. Not her speeches. Not Ryan's charm. You. And she'll figure that out eventually. Eventually might be too late. I finished my champagne. Set the glass down. Then it's too late. The dinner began at 8. I sat at the main table, between Walter Kensington, our board chairman, and a managing director from Goldman. Across from me, Victoria held court at the head of the table. Ryan sat to her right. His chair was closer to hers than mine had ever been. Walter leaned toward me. Everything okay? Nathan? You seem distracted. I'm Fine. Just thinking about tomorrow. Big day. He smiled. You must be proud. 5 years from nothing to IPO. That's rare. Victoria deserves the credit. She's certainly earned it. Walter paused, but she didn't do it alone. Before I could respond, Victoria stood. She tapped her glass with a fork. The room fell silent. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. Applause. She waited, letting it build. 5 years ago, Asterian Capital was a dream on paper, a pitch deck and a prayer. Tonight, we stand on the edge of history. Tomorrow, we close the largest pre-IPO round in fintech history. More applause. She smiled. That practiced. Perfect smile. But before we celebrate, I have an announcement. I felt Marcus's eyes on me from across the table. I didn't look at him. As many of you know, Asterian has grown faster than anyone anticipated. And growth requires evolution. It requires new ideas, new energy. She glanced at Ryan. He nodded, encouraging. After careful consideration, I've decided to restructure our leadership team. Going forward, all investor relations and IPO-related operations will be managed by Ryan Cross. The room went quiet. Ryan brings fresh perspective and bold thinking. He understands where this industry is heading, and I trust him to guide us through this next phase. Silence stretched like a wire about to snap. Someone coughed. A glass clinked. Then Ryan stood, raising his own champagne. I want to thank Victoria for her faith in me. His voice was smooth, practiced, and I want to thank Nathan for his years of service. He built a strong foundation. But Asterian's future requires bigger thinking, bolder moves. He looked at me, smiled. Nathan, I hope you'll support this transition gracefully. Every eye in the room turned to me. I felt the weight of 200 gazes, some curious, some sympathetic, some enjoying the spectacle. Victoria watched me, expression flat, waiting. I set down my napkin, slowly, deliberately, gracefully. I repeated, "Is that a problem?" Ryan's smile didn't waver. I looked at Victoria. "Is this what you want?" She met my eyes. No hositashchen. It's what the company needs. The company needs stability, experience, relationships that took years to build. And Ryan brings that. He brings a resume and a smile. Nothing else. Ryan's smile tightened. "Nathan, I understand you're upset, but this is business. Try to be professional." I laughed. I couldn't help it. The absurdity of it, that this man, 3 months in the door, telling me to be professional. Professional. I stood up. "You want professional? Let me show you professional." I reached into my jacket pocket, pulled out my company badge, the one with my photo, my name, my title, co-founder head of strategic partnerships. I placed it on the table, right in front of Victoria. "What are you doing?" she asked. "I'm making this easy for you." "Nathan, don't be dramatic." "Dramatic?" I looked around the room. "You just fire me in front of every investor we've ever worked with. In front of the board. In front of the press. And you're calling me dramatic?" Ryan stepped forward. "There's no need for a scene. Nathan, just sit down and we can discuss this privately." Privately. I turned to him. "You've been discussing things privately with my wife for months. How'd that work out?" His face reddened. "That's not." "Save it." I looked back at Victoria. "You want him? You got him. You want me gone? I'm gone." "Nathan, but let me tell you something." I leaned closer, lowering my voice so only she could hear. "Those investors out there, they didn't come for your speeches. They didn't come for Ryan's charm. They came because I vouched for you. Because I staked my reputation on this company." Her eyes flickered, just for a second. "And tomorrow morning, when they find out I'm gone, you'll see exactly what I was worth." She straightened her spine. "Is that a threat?" "It's a prediction." Ryan stepped between us. "I think you should leave now, Nathan, before security has to escort you." I looked at him, really looked, saw the arrogance, the confidence, the complete ignorance of what he just stepped into. "Security." I shook my head. "You have no idea what you've done, do you?" "I know exactly what I've done. I've taken a company that was being held back and given it room to grow. Room to fall. You mean?" "We'll see." "Yeah." I picked up my badge, slipped it back into my pocket. "We will." I turned to Victoria one last time. "Good luck, Victoria. You're going to need it." I walked out. Nobody stopped me. Nobody followed. The elevator doors closed behind me, and I stood there, alone, watching the numbers descend. 20 floors. 19. 18. My phone buzzed. "Marcus, what just happened?" I didn't respond. 15. 14. 13. Another buzz. "Walter, call me." Immediately. I ignored it. 10. 9. 8. The elevator dinged. Lobby. I walked through the marble hallway, past the concierge, out onto Fifth Avenue. The night air hit my face. Cold. Clean. I stood there for a long moment, looking up at the lights of the hotel. Somewhere up there, my wife was celebrating, toasting her new partner, planning her future. Without me. I pulled out my phone, opened my contacts, found the list I'd kept for 5 years, that every investor who had trusted me, every institution that had bet on my word. I typed a message. Short, direct, effective immediately. I am no longer involved with Asterian Capital's financing, risk management, or investor relations. I cannot vouch for future company decisions. All commitments made based on my personal assurance should be reevaluated. I copied it, pasted it into an email, added every address on my list. My thumb hovered over send. One click. That's all it would take. I thought about Victoria, about the 5 years we'd built together, about the promises we'd made. Then I thought about her face tonight. Cold, distant, like I was a stranger. I pressed send. The emails went out at 11:47 p.m. By midnight, the first response came in. Understood. We will pause all disbursements pending review. By 1 a.m. 3 more. By 2 a.m. The lead investor called. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. "Nathan, it's Peter. We received your email. We're pulling out of the round effective immediately. I'm sorry it ended this way. You deserve better. I listened to it twice. Then I deleted it. I poured myself a glass of whiskey. Sat in the dark. Waited for morning. At 6 a.m., my phone exploded. 47 missed calls. 63 texts. All from Mysterian employees. All asking the same question. What did you do? I picked up the phone. Called Marcus. He answered on the first ring. His voice was hoarse. Nathan, the entire round collapsed. Every single investor pulled out. We're looking at a complete meltdown. How's Victoria? A pause. She's locked in her office. Screaming. Breaking things. Ryan tried to calm her down, and she threw a phone at his head. I almost smiled. What happens now? Marcus asked. Now. I leaned back in my chair. Now she finds out what happens when you remove the foundation from a house that was never stable. Nathan, did you know this would happen? I knew they trusted me. I knew they wouldn't stay without me. I just didn't know if she'd realize it before it was too late. She didn't. No, she didn't. I hung up, looked out the window at the rising sun. Somewhere in Midtown, my wife was watching her empire crumble, and she had no one to blame but herself. I took a sip of whiskey. It tasted like victory. My phone vibrated at 6:47 a.m. I was already awake. Hadn't slept. The whiskey glass sat empty on my coffee table, and I'd watched the sunrise paint Manhattan in shades of gold and gray. I picked up the phone. 47 missed calls. 63 texts. All from Mysterian employees. I ignored them all. At 7:02 a.m., Marcus called from a blocked number. I almost let it ring. But Marcus had been my friend before he was our CFO. He deserved an answer. I picked up. Talk to me. His voice cracked. Nathan, what did you do? I told the truth. What did Victoria do? A long pause. I heard papers shuffling. Voices in the background. Someone was shouting. She's losing her mind. Marcus said. 3 lead investors pulled out overnight. 5 more froze their commitments. The entire $480 million round is gone. We're getting margin calls from the banks within hours. I took a slow breath. That's not my problem anymore. Not your Nathan. She's blaming you. She's telling the board you sabotaged the company out of jealousy. Let her. You don't understand. She's calling an emergency board meeting at 9. She wants your head on a spike. She can want whatever she wants. I'm done. Nathan, please, just talk to her. Calm her down. Maybe we can salvage something. Salvage what? Marcus? The company I built? The investors I brought in? She gave all of that to a man who's been here 3 months. Silence. Tell me something. I said, when the investors pulled out. What did Ryan do? Another pause. He tried to call them. Made it worse. How? First call. Lead investor from Silver Creek. Ryan introduced himself. The guy asked to speak to you. Ryan said you were gone. The investor said. Then we're gone too. Hung up. I almost smiled. Second call? Worse. He argued with the partner at Blackwood. Told him they were legally obligated to honor the commitment. The partner laughed and said, our commitment was to Nathan Hale. Show me his signature on the termination paperwork, and we'll talk. Ryan didn't have it. Ryan didn't even know what paperwork they were talking about. I stood up, walked to my window, looked out at the city, waking up. So now what? Board meeting at 9. Victoria wants you there. I'm not coming. Nathan, Marcus, listen to me. I spent 5 years building that company. 5 years bringing in investors. 5 years guaranteeing loans with my personal reputation. And she threw me out like garbage. In front of everyone. I know. I was there. Then you know why I'm not coming. He sighed, long and heavy. What do I tell her? Tell her the truth. Tell her those investors weren't investing in Asterion. They were investing in me. And I'm gone. I hung up. At 8:30 a.m., my phone rang again. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. But something made me pick up. Nathan. Victoria's voice. Hoarse. Shaking. Victoria. Where are you? Home. Where are you? In hell. Thanks to you. I didn't create this situation. I just stopped pretending it didn't exist. Pretending? You sent a mass email to every investor at midnight. You sabotaged. I withdrew my personal guarantee. That's not sabotage. That's honesty. Honesty? Her voice cracked. You destroyed everything we built. In one night. We built. Victoria. I built. You took the credit. There's a difference. Silence. I heard her breathing. Quick, ragged. I need you to fix this. No, Nathan, please. The board is meeting in 30 minutes. If I don't have a solution, they're going to suspend me. Remove me from CEO. I'll lose everything. Then you'll lose everything. You can't mean that. I've never meant anything more. Nathan, her voice broke. I'm begging you. Come to the meeting. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. Tell them you're staying. They'll listen to you. They would have listened to me last night. Before you humiliated me in front of them. Before you chose Ryan over me. Ryan was a mistake. I know that now. Too late. It doesn't have to be. Yes, it does. I hung up. At 9:15 a.m., Marcus texted me a photo. It showed the Asterian conference room. Victoria at the head of the table. Face pale. Eyes red. Ryan sitting 2 seats away, looking like he wanted to disappear. The board members flanking them like judges at a sentencing. Below the photo, Marcus wrote, "It's bad. She's losing them." I didn't respond. At 9:32 a.m., another text. Walter just asked her directly, "Why did you remove Nathan the night before our largest funding round?" I waited. At 9:41 a.m., she said you were undermining her authority. Walter asked how. She couldn't answer. At 9:48 a.m., Ryan tried to defend her. Walter shut him down, told him to sit down and be quiet. At 10:03 a.m., vote happened. She suspended. Pending investigation. I stared at the screen. Suspended. The Queen of Wall Street. Dethroned in less than 24 hours. I should have felt something. Satisfaction. Relief. Vindication. Instead, I just felt tired. At noon, my doorbell rang. I opened it. Victoria stood in the hallway. No muck-up. Hair a mess. Wearing the same dress from last night under a wrinkled trench coat. She looked like she'd been crying for hours. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. She walked past me into the living room, stopped in the middle of the rug, looked around at the space she'd helped me decorate. The photos on the wall, the books on the shelves, the life we'd built together. All of it. Gone. "Your apartment looks the same," she said. "I haven't changed anything. Neither have I." She turned to face me. "Accept everything." I closed the door. "Sit down." Victoria. She didn't sit. She paced. Hands shaking. Voice trembling. They suspended me. The board. They said I acted recklessly. That I endangered the company. That I showed poor judgment. They're not wrong. She stopped. Stared at me. "You're enjoying this." "I'm not enjoying anything. I am stating facts. I lost everything. Nathan. My company. My reputation. My future. In one night. You lost what you took for granted. There's a difference." She opened her mouth to argue. Closed it. Her shoulders sagged. "Ryan lied to me," she said quietly. "About everything. The bridge loan he proposed? It was from a shell company he owned. He was going to make $12 million in kickbacks." I nodded. "I figured." "You figured? How?" "Because I know con artists. I've been dealing with them my whole career." Ryan walked like one, talked like one, smelled like one. "Then why didn't you warn me?" "I did. Multiple times. You didn't want to hear it." She closed her eyes. Tears slid down her cheeks. "I thought you were jealous. I thought you wanted to hold me back. I wanted to protect you. From yourself. From people like him. I didn't see it." "No, you didn't." She opened her eyes. Looked at me with something I hadn't seen in months. Vulnerability. "Can you forgive me?" "No." The word hit her like a punch. She staggered back a step. "Nathan, I can understand you. I can accept that you made mistakes. But forgive you? For humiliating me in front of everyone I respected? For choosing a con artist over your husband? For throwing away 5 years of partnership because your ego couldn't handle sharing credit?" I shook my head. "Forgiveness takes time and effort, and you haven't earned either." She wiped her face with the back of her hand. "What do I do now?" "I don't know. That's not my problem anymore. It could be, if you came back. If you help me fix this." "Fix what?" "The company is bleeding. The investors are gone. The board doesn't trust you. Ryan is probably already lawyering up." "He is. I got a call from his attorney this morning." "Of course you did." She stepped closer, reached out, touched my arm. "Nathan, please. I know I don't deserve your help, but I'm asking anyway. As your wife." I looked down at her hand, then up at her face. "You're not my wife anymore." "Victoria." "Not really. You stopped being my wife the moment you chose him over me. She pulled her hand back like she'd been burned. What does that mean? It means I'm filing for divorce. The color drained from her face. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious. Nathan, we can work through this. We've survived worse. Have we? Name one time you publicly humiliated me and chose another man over me. She opened her mouth. Closed it. That's what I thought. Nathan, please, leave. Victoria. Nathan, leave. Before I call security. She stared at me for a long moment, searching my face for something. Mercy, love, hope. She found nothing. She turned, walked to the door, stopped with her hand on the handle. I'm sorry, she whispered, for everything. I didn't respond. She left. The door clicked shut behind her. I stood in the middle of my living room, surrounded by silence, and realized I didn't feel anything at all. No anger, no sadness, no satisfaction, just emptiness. I walked to the window, watched her get into a cab, watched it drive away. Then I picked up my phone and called my lawyer. Harold, it's Nathan. Start the paperwork. Divorce? Divorce. Full separation of assets. No negotiations. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Give me 48 hours. Make it 24. I hung up, looked out at the city one more time. Somewhere out there, my soon-to-be ex-wife was watching her empire crumble. And I was finally free. She showed up at 11 that night. I heard the knock through my headphones. Ignored it first. Figured it was a neighbor or a delivery. Then the knocking turned to pounding. And then to something else. Crying. I opened the door. Victoria stood in the hallway, soaked from the rain, wearing the same clothes from earlier. Her mascara ran down her cheeks in black streaks. She looked smaller than I'd ever seen her. Please, she whispered, just let me in. I don't have anywhere else to go. I stepped aside. She walked past me, dripping water on the hardwood floor, stopped in the middle of the living room, hugged herself like she was trying to hold herself together. The board voted. She said, official this time. I'm removed as CEO, effective immediately. I closed the door. I heard, Walter called you? Marcus. She nodded, stared at the floor. They're launching a formal investigation. Into Ryan, into me, into every decision we made in the last 6 months. You'll survive. Will I? She looked up at me. Her eyes were red, swollen, hollow. They're talking about criminal referral. If they find evidence I knew about Ryan's scheme. Did you know? No. She shook her head violently. God, no. I was stupid. I was blind. But I wasn't complicit. I studied her face, looking for the lie. I didn't find one. Sit down. I said, you look like you're about to collapse. She sat on the edge of my couch. Her hands trembled in her lap. I talked to Ryan's lawyer today. She said, they're offering a deal. He pleads guilty to fraud, cooperates with the investigation, and I avoid charges. What's the catch? He testifies that I was negligent, that I should have caught the red flags, that I enabled his behavior, which is true. She flinched. Thank for the sympathy. I'm not here to make you feel better. Victoria, I'm here to listen. That's all. She took a shaky breath. The lawyer said if I take the deal, I'll walk away with nothing. No evidence, no equity, no non-compete waiver, just my personal assets and a clean record. That's generous. It's a trap. If I take the deal, I admit negligence. That follows me forever. No board will ever hire me again. No investor will trust me. Then don't take it. And fight? With what money? With what team? My legal fund is frozen. My reputation is destroyed. Ryan's already spinning the narrative that I was in on it from the start. Let him spin. The truth will come out. When? In 6 months? A year? By then, I'll be bankrupt and alone. You're already alone. She looked at me. The words hit harder than I intended. I know, she said quietly. That's my fault. I know. I sat down across from her. Leaned forward. Tell me everything. From the beginning. How Ryan got to you. What he said. What he promised. Don't leave anything out. She wiped her face. Took a breath. It started 6 months ago. He emailed me out of nowhere. Said he'd been following Asterian's growth. Said he admired what I'd built. Wanted to grab coffee and catch up. You agreed. I was curious. We hadn't spoken since college. I thought maybe he'd changed. Maybe he wanted to apologize for how he treated me back then. How'd he treat you? He dumped me senior year. Said I wasn't ambitious enough. Said I didn't have a drive to make it in New York. Said I was holding him back. I nodded. Classic narcissist playbook. Break them down so they crave your approval later. She blinked. You know about that? I know about people like Ryan. I've dealt with a dozen of them. They all follow the same script. She looked down at her hands. The first few meetings were innocent. Coffee. Drinks. He asked about the company. Asked about you. Asked about our marriage. And you told him. I was frustrated. We were fighting a lot. You were always working. Always stressed about the IPO. I felt like I was carrying the weight alone. Because I was handling the investors, the risk models, the board relationships, the invisible work. I know that now. But at the time, I didn't see it. I saw you disappearing into your office. I saw you missing dinners. I saw you choosing the company over me. I was choosing our future. I didn't see it that way. She paused. Her voice dropped. Ryan told me I deserved better, that I was the face of Asterion, that I should be the one making decisions, that you were holding me back because you were threatened by my success. And you believed him. I wanted to believe him. It was easier than admitting I needed you. I let that sit. Let the weight of it fill the room. When did he propose the bridge loan? About 2 months ago. He said he had a contact at a private fund. High interest, but fast. No questions asked. He said it would give us flexibility without having to answer to the board. Did you run it by legal? I mentioned it to our general counsel. He flagged it as high risk. I ignored him. Why? Because Ryan said the GC was too conservative. That he didn't understand the urgency of the IPO timeline. That if we waited for traditional financing, we'd miss our window. So you bypassed your own legal team. She nodded. I authorized preliminary discussions. Ryan handled the negotiations. I didn't read the term sheets carefully. I trusted him, even though I told you he was dangerous. Even though I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the rain. Do you know why I stayed with you for 5 years? Victoria? Because you loved me. Partly, but mostly because I believed in you. I saw potential. I saw someone who could be great, if she had the right support. And you were that support. I was. Until you decided you didn't need me anymore. She stood up, walked toward me. I was wrong. About everything. About Ryan. About you. About myself. Being wrong doesn't undo what happened. I know, but it's a start. She stopped a few feet away, close enough that I could smell her perfume. The same one she'd worn on our wedding day. Nathan, I'm not asking you to come back. I'm not asking you to save me. I'm asking you to give me a chance to prove that I can be better. A chance to do what? To fix what I broke. To rebuild. To become the person you thought I could be. I looked at her, really looked, saw the fear, the shame, the desperation, and underneath all of that, a flicker of something I hadn't seen in months. Humility. I'm not going to hold your hand through this. I said, if you want to rebuild, you do it alone, on your own terms, with your own resources. I understand. If you fail, don't come crying to me. I've given you everything I had. There's nothing left. I know. And if you ever choose another man over me again, I will destroy you. Not out of anger, out of principle. She swallowed, nodded. I understand. I turned back to the window. There's a lawyer I know, works out a small firm in Midtown, specializes in white-collar defense. He's expensive, but he's good. Can you give me his number? I'll text it to you. She stood there for a long moment. Then she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. Thank you, Nathan, for not giving up on me completely. I haven't given up on you. I've given up on us. There's a difference. She nodded, turned, walked toward the door. Victoria. She stopped, didn't turn around. The person you become after this? Make sure she's someone worth knowing. She stood still for a long moment. Then she opened the door and walked out into the rain. I watched her go. Then I closed the door, locked it, and poured myself a drink. The phone rang at midnight. Marcus, you're not going to believe this. Try me. Ryan's lawyer just filed a motion. He's claiming Victoria coerced him into the scheme. Says she was the mastermind and he was just following orders. Bullshit. Doesn't matter. It's going to drag her through the mud for months. Maybe years. I took a sip of whiskey. What does she need? A miracle? Or a witness who can prove Ryan acted alone? I thought about it. Thought about the files I'd kept, the emails I'd saved, The documentation of every suspicious move Ryan had made since joining the company. I might have something. What? Evidence. Emails. Financial records. Things I pulled before I left. Nathan, that could save her. I know. Are you going to give it to her? I looked at the glass in my hand. Thought about Victoria standing in the rain. Thought about the woman I married. The woman I loved. The woman who broke my heart. I don't know yet. Nathan. I said I don't know. I hung up. Sat in the dark. Stared at the phone. Waited for morning. 6 months later, I stood at the podium in a midtown conference room, facing 40 journalists and a dozen cameras. Behind me, a banner read, Hale Partners, acquires Asterion Technologies. The room was packed. Every major financial outlet had sent a reporter. Bloomberg, Reuters, CNBC, The Wall Street Journal. They'd all come to watch me buy the remains of my ex-wife's company for pennies on the dollar. A reporter from Bloomberg raised her hand. Mr. Hale, there are rumors that you deliberately destroyed Asterion to acquire its assets cheaply. How do you respond? I smiled. I didn't destroy Asterion. I simply stopped propping it up. There's a difference. Some say you orchestrated Victoria's downfall out of revenge. Revenge implies I care enough to hurt her. I don't. I walked away and took my name with me. Everything that happened after was the natural consequence of removing a foundation from a house that was never structurally sound. Another reporter. What do you say to critics who call this opportunistic? I say they're right. Opportunity presented itself. I took it. That's business. A third voice. Have you spoken to Victoria since the acquisition? I paused. No, I haven't. The questions continued for another 20 minutes. I answered each one with the same calm precision. No emotion, no hesitation, just facts. When it was over, I stepped away from the podium and walked into the hallway. Marcus was waiting for me. You handle that well. I've had practice. Your phone's been ringing off the hook. Half the calls are from people who want to invest in Hale Partners. The other half are from journalists who want a follow-up interview. Tell them I'm busy. I already did. He handed me a folder. The acquisition paperwork is finalized. Asterion Technologies officially belongs to us as of this morning. I took the folder. Didn't open it. How's Victoria? Marcus hesitated. She's surviving. She moved to a smaller apartment in Brooklyn. She's working as a consultant for mid-tier firms. Nothing glamorous. She write that book? She did. It's called The View from the Top and The Fall from Grace. Came out last month. Hit the bestseller list in its first week. Good for her. She donated half the proceeds to charity. Started a nonprofit teaching financial literacy to young women. I nodded. That sounds like her. She's different now. Nathan. Humble. Quiet. I talked to her last week. She asked about you. What did you tell her? I told her you were doing well. That the new firm was thriving. That you seemed happy. Was that a lie? No. You do seem happy. Or at least at peace. I looked at the folder in my hands. 5 years of my life. Reduced to a stack of legal documents. Send her my regards. I will. 2 weeks later, I received an envelope in the mail. No return address. But I recognized the handwriting. I opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter on plain white paper. Nathan, I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect you to respond. But I needed to write it anyway. I spent 5 years believing I was the architect of my own success. I spent 6 months learning that I was just a tenant. You built the house. You laid the foundation. You paid the mortgage. And I convinced myself that because I lived in it, I owned it. I was wrong. I was wrong about Ryan. I was wrong about you. I was wrong about myself. I don't ask for your forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that I see the truth now. I see what you sacrificed. I see what you protected me from. I see the man I should have been grateful for every single day. I'm not the same person who stood in that hotel ballroom and humiliated you. That woman died the morning she watched her empire collapse. The woman writing this letter is someone who has spent every day since trying to become worthy of the chances you gave me. I don't know if I'll ever get there, but I'm trying. Thank you for not destroying me completely. Thank you for leaving me enough pieces to rebuild. And thank you for loving me, even when I didn't deserve it. Victoria. I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully, placed it back in the envelope, and put it in my desk drawer. I didn't respond. 3 months later, I was sitting in my office when my assistant knocked. Mr. Hale, there's someone here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment. Who is it? She said her name is Victoria. She said she won't take long. I considered saying no, considered having security escort her out. But something made me stand up and walk to the door. Send her in. Victoria walked through the door, looking nothing like the woman I remembered. She wore a simple blazer and jeans. No designer suit. No expensive jewelry. Her hair was shorter. Her face softer. Her eyes clearer. She stopped a few feet from my desk. Thank you for seeing me. I wasn't going to, but I changed my mind. I appreciate that. We stood in silence for a moment. Then she spoke. I read about the acquisition. Congratulations. You built something impressive. Thank you. I also read your interview. The one where you said you didn't destroy Asterion. You just stopped propping it up. That's accurate. She nodded. It took me a long time to understand what that meant. But I get it now. Good. She reached into her bag, pulled out a small box, held it out to me. What's that? Open it. I took the box, opened it. Inside was a simple silver keychain with a single word engraved on it. Found her. I found it in my desk after I was removed. She said, it was in a drawer I never opened. I think you left it there years ago. I looked at the keychain, remembered buying it at a street vendor the week we incorporated. I'd carried it for years before losing it somewhere in the office. I didn't leave it intentionally. I know, but I kept it as a reminder. Of what? Of who really built the company. I closed the box, handed it back to her. Keep it. She shook her head. It's yours. It always was. I looked at her, saw the sincerity in her eyes, saw the weight she carried. How's the nonprofit? Growing. Slowly. We've helped about 200 women so far. Mostly young professionals who don't have access to financial education. That's good work. It's honest work. That's what matters. She took a breath. I'm not here to ask for anything. Nathan, I'm not here to reopen old wounds. I just wanted to say goodbye. Properly. The way I should have done the first time. Goodbye. I'm moving to Chicago. Got offered a position at a community development bank. It's not glamorous, but it's meaningful. When do you leave? Next week. I nodded. I hope it works out for you. Me too. She smiled. A small, genuine smile. Take care of yourself. Nathan, you deserve to be happy. You too. Victoria. She turned, walked toward the door, stopped with her hand on the handle. Nathan? Yeah, I'm proud of you. I always was. I just forgot how to say it. She left. I stood there for a long time, staring at the closed door. Then I sat down at my desk, opened the drawer, and looked at the letter she'd sent me months ago. I didn't cry, but I came close. 6 months after that, I was sitting in my office when my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Congratulations on the acquisition. I always knew you'd succeed. Ugh. I stared at the screen, typed a response, deleted it, typed another, deleted that too. Finally, I wrote, thank you. I hope you're finding your own path. Her reply came instantly. I am. Finally, I put down my phone, looked at the framed photo on my desk. My grandfather, the man who taught me that integrity is the only currency that never loses value. I smiled, and I turned back to my work. The next morning, I did an interview with a small podcast. The host asked me the same question I'd been asked 100 times. Do you regret leaving Asterion? I leaned back in my chair, thought about Victoria, thought about the company, thought about everything I'd lost and everything I'd gained. I didn't leave Asterion. I said, I stopped carrying it. There's a difference between walking away and putting down a weight that was never yours to carry. The host nodded. And now, are you happy? I looked out the window at the Manhattan skyline, thought about the keychain in my desk drawer, the letter I'd never answered, the woman who was rebuilding her life in Chicago. I'm at peace. I said, that's better than happiness. I smiled and meant it.